Your monthly subscription box from postflybox.com includes all the materials needed to tie a dozen flies, along with some extra goodies. The Hot Butt Bonefish Fly is a fairly standard bonefish pattern with a few added bells and whistles to make it all but irresistible. The fly starts with a size 8 heavy-duty saltwater hook. Begin by getting the hook firmly secured in the jaws of your tying vise. You can then load a bobbin with a spool of olive unithread. Get the thread started on the hook shank behind the eye, and after taking a few wraps rearward, snip off the excess tag. Continue taking thread wraps to further secure it to the hook shank. Pick up one of the pairs of dumbbell eyes and place them on top of the hook shank so they're a full hook eye length back from the back edge of the hook eye. Then take several cross wraps to begin securing them there. Pick up just a small amount of super glue, here Fly Tire Z-Men, and apply it to the thread wraps on the underside of the hook. Then flip the fly back to its normal orientation. Now, take yoke wraps which go over top of the eyes but under the hook shank on either side of the fly. Follow these with circular flat wraps below the eyes but above the hook to pull all the previous wraps in tight. End with your tying thread a little ways back from the dumbbell eyes. Snip 3 strands of pearl crystal flash free from the hank and find their midpoint. Place the midpoint on top of the hook at the location of your tying thread and take a few thread wraps to secure it there. Pull the forward pointing portion back and continue anchoring the flash to the top of the hook shank all the way back to the start of the hook bend. End with your tying thread hanging at about the hook point. Pluck a small amount of the orange ice dub free from the packet and use it to create a slender 1.5 inch long noodle on your tying thread. Start taking wraps with the noodle so the dubbing begins right at the base of the crystal flash tail. Take overlapping wraps to create a hot spot butt on the fly, then end with your tying thread hanging a little ways in front of the hook point. Now, pluck an ample amount of olive dubbing free from the packet and use it to create a fairly substantial 4-inch long noodle on your tying thread. Start taking wraps with the noodle so the dubbing begins at the front edge of the hot spot. Continue taking touching to slightly overlapping wraps with the noodle to create a body on the fly. If you run out of material, go back to your dubbing packet, pick out some more, and create a dubbing noodle long enough to fill in the area behind the dumbbell eyes. Invert the fly once again and leave your tying thread hanging at the back edge of the eyes. Tease up and snip off a square 1/2 inch of olive craft fur down close to the backing. While holding the clump at about its midpoint, strip out the lower, shorter fibers. If there are any overly long fibers, strip them out as well. Try to keep the clump nice and sparse. Measure to form a wing 2 full hooks in length. While keeping that measurement, snip the butt ends off at a shallow angle. Place the angled butt ends against the underside of the hook and take thread wraps to secure them, first behind the eyes, then in front. The wing should be well secured and again nice and sparse. Pull 3 strands of the silicone leg material free from the rest and find their midpoint. Place the midpoint against the near side of the hook behind the dumbbell eyes and take a few tight wraps of thread to secure the material there. Pull the forward pointing portion back to the far side of the fly and secure it there. Continue taking thread wraps and cross wraps to fill in the area between the dumbbell eyes and to further secure the material below to the hook shank. Don't be afraid to use a bunch of wraps here. Pick up your whip finish tool and use it to do a 5 or 6 turn whip finish, seat the knot well, and snip your tying thread free. A drop of head cement, here Sally Hansen Hard as Nails, applied to the exposed thread wraps around the dumbbell eyes will ensure they don't come unraveled. This will also increase the durability of the fly as a whole. Trim the crystal flash off so it's just a bit shorter than the olive wing. Trim the silicone legs off to about the same length as the crystal flash. And that's the Hot Butt Bonefish Fly. It's got a little bit of flash, a ton of motion, and a rather attractive bright orange butt. What more could a bonefish want?